The Edge of Fate has been revealed, marking the beginning of the next era of Destiny. The reveal gave us quite a bit of information about its story, so I thought it would be fun to break down what info we have, make connections to existing lore, and spin up some theories and predictions about the narrative of the expansion. To keep things straightforward, I will verbally label when I'm stating facts versus theories. One thing to note before we begin, I have heard rumors of a story leak for this expansion. However, this channel is a no-leak zone, and nothing in this video will be based on leaks. With that out of the way, let's get into the story. Fact: The Edge of Fate is the first entry of the Fate Saga, which is a multi-year saga about the Nine. Expansions in this saga will be medium-sized, larger than Rise of Iron, but smaller than annual expansions like the Final Shape. The Edge of Fate will be followed by an expansion called Renegades in December 2025, The Alchemist in summer 2026, and Shattered Cycle in late 2026. The Edge of Fate will raise more questions than it answers, harkening back to Destiny 1's sense of mystery. The codename for the expansion was originally Apollo, the Greek god of the sun, light, truth, and prophecy. Those four concepts will likely be explored in the expansion. The name for the next year of Destiny content is the Year of Prophecy, which further solidifies this idea. More on that later. Because the Nine are the focus of the expansion, dark matter will take center stage. In the stream, it was specifically said that dark matter is completely unrelated to paracausal darkness. I can see how people would be confused given the names are similar. In the Dust lorebook from Season of the Drifter, we learn that the Nine are sentient loops of dark matter, formed in the shadow of the solar system's worlds. They become sentient as life emerges on those worlds, and eventually develop the goal of ending their dependence on Soul's life. In Dust, it's revealed that there are two factions in the Nine. A group I call the Integrationists study the light with the goal of using it to make physical bodies for themselves. They are connected to Ahamkara, as after the Ahamkara are hunted to extinction, they send Xur to the last city in order to exchange paracausal gear with Guardians, to learn from the exchange. Xur allows the Nine to obtain something they previously received from the Ahamkara. The Integrationists also try to create living organisms by accreting matter at a station called the Gate of Cocytus in the Reef. I call the other faction of the Nine the Separatists. They try to use the universe's dark matter to create their own worlds of dark matter that they can inhabit separate from Soul's life. In the reveal stream, it was confirmed that there is one member of the Nine for the Sun, and one for each of the system's 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Theory: because the factions only emerge after the Traveler arrives in Soul, the Integrationists are the 5 planets that the Traveler visited: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter via its moons. The Separatists would then be Sol, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Fact: in the reveal stream, the Nine are described as extra-dimensional beings who are said to see humanity as bugs needed to be used to achieve their goals. In the Edge of Fate, Guardians will discover a bioluminescent microbe that interacts with dark matter, which is basically an excuse to make something that's invisible in our universe visible in-game. Theory: this microbe will serve a similar role to Egregore, but for dark matter, showing the places that dark matter touches and corrupts. We also might receive some kind of power from the microbe. Fact: in the Edge of Fate, players will use dark matter to gain new powers and abilities. These include Matter Spark, Matter Morph, and the Relocator Cannon. Matter Spark uses dark matter and arc to travel through spaces we couldn't normally fit into, due to dark matter's ability to pass through matter by not interacting with it. Matter Spark was described as the crown jewel of the Edge of Fate, so it will serve an important role in the story. Mattermorph uses strand and dark matter to manipulate the environment, rearranging things. The Relocator Cannon uses a combination of void, dark matter, and Elixni technology. On screen, it looked like an Elixni null cannon, powered up with dark matter. Null cannons are the void versions of Scorch cannons from Wrath of the Machine. Theory. There might be stasis and solar dark matter abilities to complete the set of 5 paracausal elements combined with dark matter. However, I wouldn't count on that, because I think we would have been shown the other abilities if they existed, unless they would be too much of a story spoiler. In the stream, it was stated that we will ally with some of the 9 and fight others. Theory. I believe we will receive at least some of the new dark matter abilities via deals with specific members of the 9. More on that later. Fact. The Edge of Fates campaign has been described as a non-linear Metroidvania-inspired experience that can be explored in any order you want. Acquiring different abilities will be required to progress in certain areas. Matter Spark, Matter Morph, and the Relocator Cannon will almost certainly be required to progress to different sections, because that's how the genre of Metroidvania usually works. Progression will involve investigating mysteries and incorporating mechanics that are inspired by dungeons and raids. These will probably be similar to the ways the Final Shapes campaign incorporates raid mechanics. It was mentioned that many quests will be part of the non-linear story experience. Theory. What would normally serve as post-campaign quests for exotics, activities, and other items will most likely be integrated into the narrative as part of the non-linear story experience. Fact. The Edge of Fate's major theme is the boundaries of fate and prophecy. It will raise questions about making your own fate. The 9 have a plan for humanity and the soul system. The question, what if making our own fate was part of our fate, is raised. In the lore for Division in episode Heresy, we saw that the integrationists see the Witness's death as a good thing. The Witness threatens the lives of the inhabitants of Sol, and thus the 9 themselves. They align themselves with the Vanguard Coalition. The Separatists disagree, seeing the Witness's death as a missed opportunity, a chance to escape and create a new world while the laws of the universe change for the Witness's final shape. Theory. It will be revealed that killing the Witness and most of our actions during the Light and Darkness saga are part of the 9's plans for us, likely the integrationists. This will lead into greater plans that they have to manipulate Sol's life into helping them transcend their dark matter forms, likely requiring some kind of calamity or destruction for humanity. Fact. The Edge of Fate will conclude with an event that kickstarts the story of the rest of the saga. Theory. We will try to break free from the 9's scheme because it will harm humanity, and try to make our own fate again, which will have major consequences for Sol. While talking about this climactic event, the stream showed concept art where Saturn was hit by a blast of energy. Theory. The Separatists want to convert some of Sol's planets into dark matter, empowering the 9, but killing much of Sol's life by destabilizing the orbits of the planets. Fact. The Edge of Fate takes place on Kepler, a planetoid in the Oort cloud. The Oort cloud is a spherical layer of icy planetesimals at the very edge of the solar system beyond the heliopause, theorized by Jan Oort to be the source of comets. Theory. In Destiny, Kepler is named after 17th century astronomer Johannes Kepler, who introduced the concept of elliptical planetary orbits, which helped lead to our modern model of planetary orbits and the solar system. He was also an astrologer, as the concept of astrology was heavily linked to astronomy in his time, and hadn't yet fallen out of favor with astronomers. Theory. Kepler's name being used is part of a broader connection the expansion will make with the concept of prophecy and fate, which are major components of astrology. This could also connect to Kepler's astrological theory that Earth has a soul. In this scenario, the souls of each world would be the members of the 9. Kepler also believed that eclipses were violent disruptions to Earth's soul, which relates to the 9 being associated with eclipses. Fact. In the reveal stream, it was mentioned that Kepler has thin dimensionality, allowing things from other times and dimensions to be pulled into the material plane. They specifically discussed things from Golden Age Earth being pulled to the present day on Kepler. This would be similar to the Golden Age time rifts we saw in Witch Queen, when Mars returned from the Ascendant Plane. Theory. The green lights seen in the trailers are visual depictions of those time rifts, as Witch Queen represented these drifts visually with bluish-green energy lines. In the trailer, we see that Kepler has a massive vortex of green time juice swirling around it, meaning most of the planetoid would be consumed by these time rifts. Fact: in the chess ARG, the community discovered a website called ionarchives.net. In the reveal stream, Bungie explained that this is a Golden Age computer located on Kepler. From the website, we learned that ION is an acronym that stands for Apollo Intertemporal Observation Network, a Golden Age scientific organization who observes time anomalies. They take their name from Ion, the Greek god of prophecy. The ION computer describes the organization as dedicated utterly to the pursuit of truth of the universe, and unbound by what has come before. In the computer, the phrase is, "We have seen it, and we will see it," repeat frequently. What prophetic visions Aeon observes is unclear. The computer mentions the Planet 9 hypothesis, which is a proposed undiscovered ninth planet beyond the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt is a belt of icy bodies and dwarf planets just beyond the orbit of Neptune, most famously Pluto. This theorized planet would explain anomalous correlations in the orbits of objects beyond Neptune. However, this is a controversial hypothesis, as some have proposed alternative explanations, like biases in the data, random chance, a belt of smaller objects, or even a small black hole. We currently haven't observed such a planet, but can constrain its size and distance based on our surveys of the outer solar system. If Planet 9 existed, it would be so far out and dim that we haven't been able to identify it with modern techniques and technology. Theory: in the Destiny universe, Kepler and the Nine's manipulation of it explain the orbital correlations that the Planet 9 hypothesis seeks to explain. Planet 9's mass is estimated to be 5 to 10 times the mass of Earth, with an aphelion of 400 to 800 astronomical units. This would be much larger than that of a planetoid. However, dark matter from the 9 clustering on Kepler could provide the extra invisible needed mass in a scenario where Kepler serves as Planet 9. If you're unfamiliar with dark matter, essentially it's a kind of mass that we can't see, and it's primarily used to explain anomalous astronomical observations where things seem to behave as if they have more mass than we can see, which is why this theory is so compelling to me. The innermost edge of the Oort cloud is estimated to be 2,000 to 5,000 astronomical units from the Sun, which is much farther away than Planet 9 could possibly be. However, simulations of the solar system, including a 9th planet, show that it could disrupt the formation of the traditional Oort cloud and instead lead to a different belt of comets under its influence, which could explain why Bungie described Kepler as being in the Oort cloud. Fact: on ionarchives.net, we learn that ION sends probes into space and detects a signal that allows them to interact with entities through time. Theory: these entities are the 9, who make contact with ION, resulting in them pulling parts of the ION base and personnel through time to Kepler in the present. ION also probably would notice the temporal anomalies that pull Golden Age stuff to Kepler in the present, and would use those rifts to interact with the 9 in the present. The time anomalies could also explain a narrative reason that we were able to interface with the ION computer in our universe, the real world. There were lots of hints and connections to the actual real world in the ION computer in the ARG. Fact: ION has a fascination with chess, particularly Bobby Fischer and his chess game of the century in 1956, where he proved himself to be a chess prodigy. This ties into the chess puzzle at the heart of the ARG. In the reveal stream, the 9 were specifically described as being one move ahead of us in chess. Theory: the motif of chess will continue in the Edge of Fate and be involved in the 9's prophecies and plans. The Guardian will end up in a literal or metaphorical game of chess against the 9, where the stakes are the lives of Soul in the past, present, and future. Fact: in the Edge of Fate, the 9 invite many characters to a specific location on Kepler to a specific time for a very specific reason. At the end of the ARG, we learn that Drifter traveled to Kepler while grieving Eris, and witnessed something throwing rocks at our window. Theory: this is probably the 9 beckoning people to come to Kepler as part of their plan. Fact. In the ARG, Ion was mentioned to be, quote, making preparations for the future. Theory. Ion is invited to the present on Kepler as part of the Nine's plans. Fact. A character called Lodi is invited to Kepler by the Nine. Lodi is described as a fish out of water character who is the most qualified fish to be pulled out of the water. Theory. Lodi is probably pulled from the Golden Age to the present, works for Ion, and this is why the Nine need them specifically. The Nine need Ion's knowledge of time anomalies for their plans. Fact. In the trailer, we hear a person who I presume to be Lodi speaking. They've been shown a vision by the Nine and no longer consider themselves human. Lodi also keeps repeating, observe, connect, consume, conform, comply, return. Theory. I believe this is the Nine's instructions to Lodi as part of their plan to make bodies for themselves. In this reading, the Nine are having Lodi run experiments for them as part of their plan, probably involving time travel. Fact. In the reveal stream, we also learn that Ikora and the Guardian are invited to Kepler by the Nine, and that Ikora is at the center of one of the major mysteries in the expansion. Theory. Ikora has knowledge the Nine need as a result of the Hidden's investigations, potentially the location of the black hole that contains the Awoken Distributary, which the Nine were mentioned to be competing with the Vanguard to find in the Hidden dossier. The Guardian is probably invited because the Nine need some kind of paracausal show of force. This could be to rid Kepler of the Vex and Elixni, or it could be as an integral part of their plans to free themselves of their dependence on Soul's life. Fact. In the reveal stream, we learn that the Elixni House of Exile is on Kepler. They were the green Elixni on the moon in Destiny 1, and sport a lot of green in the trailers. Their Grimoire card from D1 mentions that this house is formed from defectors from other Elixni houses. In House of Wolves, Varix mentions that they don't follow Akel. Theory. Part of House Salvation joins House of Exile after Aramis leaves Soul with the Echo of Reese. I also believe House of Exile will be the primary Elixni enemy faction in the Fate Saga. Fact. We see new units from House of Exile that look different from normal Elixni combatants. We see they have robots called Imp Swarms and flying Elixni called Corsairs. We also see them wielding Strand. Theory. House of Exile is the primary enemy faction in the Edge of Fate. The dark matter and time rifts on Kepler give them power that alters them from standard Elixni combatants. I believe that we will steal the relocator cannon from them, and we will see that they have gained the power of Mattermorph before us. House of Exile could either be working directly for the Nine, or stealing power from them. Fact. In the Edge of Fate, House of Exile is fixated on a being they call the Giver. Theory. The Giver is the Elixni's name for one of the Nine who they ally with, potentially Neptune's member of the Nine considering the Strand connection. I believe that the Giver will empower House of Exile and give them Mattermorph. Fact. In the reveal stream, we learn that the seasonal update in September, Ash and Iron, will feature us returning to the Plague Lands. Theory. In Ash and Iron, House of Exile will try to claim Siva power from the ruins of the Devil Splicers in the Plague Lands, and Ash and Iron will be about trying to contain this threat. Fact. Soul Divisive is also shown on Kepler in the trailer. Theory. It looks like the Vex have been working to incorporate Kepler into their network, probably starting in the Golden Age. I believe the Vex's role is either to be co-opted by the Nine in service of their goals, or to be directed by Maya Sundaresh to interfere with the Nine's goals and take dark matter power for herself. The Soul Divisive will likely be the secondary enemy faction of the expansion. Fact. In the reveal trailer, Orin breaks free from the Nine. Theory. This will happen right at the beginning of the story, in one of the opening cutscenes, and will be a major driver for the plot of the expansion, and part of the reason the Nine need the people they beckon to Kepler. Fact. The lore book Ectasis tells Orin's story. In her life prior to becoming a Guardian, Orin was an Awoken named Nasan R, a close friend to Mara Sov's lover, Shur Ido, and an advisor to Mara. When the Awoken return to the Mother Universe from the Distributary, they're split upon the question of what to do. Mara wants to stay in the reef, while others want to travel to Earth and help humanity. Mara allows those who wish to leave to go freely, but on the condition that they can never return. Nassan wants to be Mara's emissary to the Awoken who leave, so Mara grants this on the condition that she herself can never return. Upon arriving on Earth, Nassan is killed immediately by Lightbearers, not fulfilling her goal. Eventually, she's resurrected as a Lightbearer named Orin by her ghost. Her search for answers about her past leads her to sneak into the reef where she's caught. She's let off lightly by Mara, who declares that she can't be held to oaths in her past life, but now has an unspecified debt to the Awoken Crown. During the Reef Wars, Ido is killed, so Mara asks Orin to repay her debt by investigating Shur's death. This investigation leads Orin to Zur and the Nine. With Orin as her emissary, Mara brokers deals with the Nine. At some point afterwards, Orin becomes romantically involved with Drifter, who she leaves upon discovering he is a liar. Shortly afterwards, Guardians lose their light in the Red War because the Nine intervene to blind humanity and the Awoken's early warning systems, wishing to learn from Gaul's attempt to take the light. Orin travels beyond the heliopause in search of power, where she meets the Nine. She's reborn upon meeting them and becomes the Nine's emissary, brokering deals with Drifter, Marasov, and the Guardian. Theory: when Orin traveled beyond the heliopause to meet the Nine, she visited Kepler, which is the location she was reborn. Based on the description we have for its location, Kepler's orbit would stretch beyond the heliopause. I also believe that Orin's relationship with the Nine comes to a breaking point over the Nine's goals to manipulate humanity's fate. She likely betrays the Nine because their plans for the future are bad for humanity. Then I believe the Nine will invite the Guardian to Kepler to stop Orin from interfering with their plans. Even if they're not invited to Kepler, Marasov and Drifter will likely be involved in the expansion due to their connections with Orin and dealings with the Nine in the past. Fact: in Dust, a Cryptarch named Lavinia Garcia Umar Tawil investigates the Nine. The investigation leads her to the gate of Cocytus in the reef, which she enters, traveling to unknown space and meeting the Nine. Afterwards, she's rescued by someone named Nasaya, which was Nassan and Orin's name prior to becoming Awoken. Lavinia is transported to an unknown location with Nasaya and Lavinia's mother, who tell Lavinia that they will appreciate what she has learned about the Nine. Some have theorized that Lavinia was saved by Savathun as part of her plans, who would then have impersonated Nasaya and her mother. I think we may learn what happened to Lavinia in the Edge of Fate. In particular, Ikora meets Lavinia in Dust, and doesn't sanction her investigation of the Nine. If we learn what happens to Lavinia, it would probably be through Ikora or Orin's storyline, perhaps both. Orin breaking free from the Nine is also a direct connection to Season of the Drifter, where Ikora explains that one of the Vanguard's motivations for working with Drifter and sanctioning Gambit is to bring Orin back to the Last City. I believe Ikora will meet Orin and try to convince her to ally with the Vanguard or return to the Last City. She may even try to recruit Orin as an agent of the Hidden. That's all I have in terms of facts and theories. I'd love to hear your theories about the Edge of Fate in the comments. If you want to take a look at the Nine's lore to prepare for the expansion, I would highly recommend reading Ecdysis and Dust, as both are key to our understanding of the Nine and Orin, who will be very important in the Edge of Fate. This video was funded in part by my channel members. If you want to support the videos I make, you can join the channel and gain access to perks like exclusive bonus videos, early access to videos, and more. Thank you for watching.